Recording! Yay! Welcome to Restorative Yin Yoga. Thanks so much for being here. For this class, ideally you have a blanket or a pillow. That'd be nice. If not, you don't need it. It's not super necessary. We're going to start on our backs. Lie down flat. You can bend your knees, soles of your feet on your mat, and rest your arms alongside your body. Your feet can be a little bit wide, wider than your hips. Let your knees come together. And just notice how your body feels. Notice how your breath is flowing in and out of your body. Don't try to change anything just yet. Just tune into how you feel. Feel the soles of your feet resting on the ground. Feel your hips heavy on your mat on the ground. Feel that little lift in the middle of your spine, natural curve. Feel your chest, the back of your chest, your shoulder blades resting on your mat, and the back of your head heavy. And slowly start to deepen your breath. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. And bring your shoulder blades close together behind your back. And draw your knees in towards your chest. Hold each knee with one hand. Rock side to side, left to right. And as you inhale, your belly expands. As you exhale, belly contracts. And find stillness in the middle. Draw your knees into your chest. And on an inhale, press your knees away from your belly, straighten your arms. And on an exhale, draw your knees in towards your chest, belly button to spine. Inhale, knees away from your belly, arms straight. Exhale, bend your elbows, draw your knees in. Finding a little movement, inhale to expand. Exhale to contract. Inhale, belly lifts, arms straight. Exhale, arms bend, knees draw into your chest. Move slowly here. Use your full inhale to make the movement. And your full exhale to draw your knees in. And on your next exhale, draw your knees in tight towards your chest. Give yourself a little squeeze. And you can keep your knees close into your chest or lower your feet flat onto your mat. Extend your arms out to a T and drop your knees over to the right. Take your gaze out over your left shoulder. Come into a twist. And on your inhale, create space from your left hip all the way up to your left shoulder. And as you exhale, soften, relax into the twist. You might take your arms straight up overhead. Stretch long down the left side of your body. Bring your arms back to a T if they're not there, and draw your knees up. Maybe feet still flat. Maybe your knees or your feet are up, your knees close into your chest. Lower your knees over to the left and take your twist. Gaze out over your right shoulder. Inhale, create space from your right hip to your right shoulder, your right armpit. And exhale, belly button to spine, find that twist. You might stretch your arms up overhead. You might interlace your fingers and press your palms up towards the top of your mat. You could just let your arms rest overhead. You could hook your thumbs and stretch your arms up overhead, pull your thumbs or your thumbs gently away from one another. And feel that stretch all along the right side of your body. And slowly start to roll all the way to your right or to your left side. And press up slowly. Come to a child's pose. You can take your blanket. If you have one, you can take a pillow also underneath your knees. A little padding. And you can separate your knees wide, your big toes touching. Sit your hips down on your heels and start to walk your upper body down, hands out long on your mat, forehead resting down. You can rock your hips from side to side, shake your forehead left to right. You can open and close your jaw a few times. And then breathe deeply into your belly. As you inhale, belly expands, you create space. And as you exhale, you release tension and you soften down into the shape. As you inhale, you'll feel your belly press against your thighs. And as you exhale, feel belly button draw in lightly towards your spine. Inhale and walk your hands out, fingertips away from your hips. Create length in your spine. And exhale, walk your hands over to the right. Draw your left hip back and down. Feel the stretch on the left side of your body. You can keep your hands parallel to one another or take your left hand on top of your right. You might press into both hands, lifting your elbows off the mat, straightening your arms, or you can soften, let your arms, your elbows rest down on the mat. Then inhale, walk your hands back to center, stretch fingertips out away from your hips. Exhale here in the middle. Take an inhale, stretch long, and on an exhale, walk your hands over to the left. Stretch your right hip back and down. You feel a stretch from your right hip to your right pinky fingernail. Your hands might stay parallel, side by side to one another, or walk your right hand on top of your left. Breathe into the stretch on your right side underneath your arm. And slowly walk back to center. Stretch your fingertips out away from your hips. Find a long spine. Reach your hips back down towards your heels. And on your inhale, press up to tabletop. Hands directly underneath your shoulders and knees right underneath your hips. We'll find some movement with cat-cows. Inhale to arch your spine, drop your belly, lift your chest, lift your tailbone, crown of your head straight up towards the ceiling, or take your gaze up, your chin up. Exhale, press the floor away, round your spine, tuck your tailbone, tuck your chin. Inhale to arch, find your back bend. And exhale to round, push the floor away, dome through your upper spine. Inhale to arch. Exhale to round. You can really make these movements your own, moving fast or super, super slow. You can start to roll your ribs around, your hips, your shoulders. You can make circles with your hips and your shoulders over your knees and your wrists. Moving first to the left or to the right and then reversing to move in the opposite direction. If you have a downward facing dog in your practice, you might walk your hands forward a bit and tuck your toes, press into your feet to lift your hips. Pedal out your feet a few times, bend one knee and then the other. Shake out your head, yes and no. You might flip your palms so that your fingertips face your knees and your thumbs are pointing out, rocking back and forth, side to side. Just playing with your body, your muscles, your joints, your bones. Finding some movement. Noticing how your body feels right now, today, in this moment. And then come back to your neutral tabletop. And we're going to sit back into Virasana or Hero pose. So you can bring your knees together and your feet together and just sit back on your heels, like kind of like child's pose, but we're going to sit up. You could take your blanket or your pillow underneath your seat. So you'll separate, keep your knees together, but separate your feet as wide as your mat. And either sit your hips right down in between your heels, or sit your hips on your blanket, your pillow. Maybe you have a stack of books. Maybe you have a block or a bolster and you're sitting on that. Either way, your feet are just on the outside of your hips. Your knees are together. And maybe you're here. Maybe you are just sitting on your feet. Maybe you are sitting on your feet. You feel like you can go further and you come up, separate your feet, and you're here. That's fine. You can be wherever you are. This is our first yin pose, so we're gonna be here for a few breaths. So take some time to get set up here. Draw your knees in together. If there's any pain in your knees, wherever you are, either come up out of the pose some or separate your knees. And see if you can draw your feet in close to your hips, your heels in close to your hips, and peel your pinky toes down towards the mat so that your foot, the top of your foot is flat on your mat. And then sit up straight, crown of your head reaching up towards the ceiling, shoulders down away from your ears. Relax your chest, relax your jaw, your throat. As you inhale, your belly will rise, expand. And as you exhale, belly will fall. Notice where in your body you're feeling the stretching sensation. Maybe it's your knees, maybe your thighs, maybe your feet. And breathe deeply right into that space. As you inhale, open up, create space. And as you exhale, soften, relax, release tension. You might have your eyes closed, your hands might be on your knees, on your thighs. Notice here the stability that you feel from either your hands on the mat, maybe from your shins on the mat, your knees, the tops of your feet. Maybe you're sitting straight down on the mat. Notice that connection, notice that stability, that grounding. If you're sitting up on a blanket or a block or a pillow, notice how that feels to be settled, to feel grounded, to feel connected. And let yourself get heavy. And slowly start to lean forward, walking out of your hero pose back to your tabletop. You might want to take a very slow and gentle downward facing dog. You might stretch just one leg behind you. And lower that knee and stretch your other leg. You might take some cat-cows here. Downward facing dog. Whatever feels good, notice how your body feels. And coming back to your tabletop, take your blanket underneath your knees. From tabletop, stretch your right leg back behind you. You can keep your toes down and press out through your heel, or lift your heel up in line with your right hip and stretch out through your heel. And on an exhale, step your right foot up outside of your right pinky. So your hands will come to the inside of your right leg. You can lift up your hands to your right knee and lean into your right foot. You'll bend your right knee deeply and feel that stretch on the front of your left thigh. Or you can bring your hands to the inside of your foot. You might come all the way down to your elbows. You might bring a blanket, pillow underneath your hands or underneath your elbows. You can find some movement bending and straightening your right leg, moving back and forth between dragon pose and your half split. You might take a little twist here, keeping your left hand down. Right hand lifts, chest open to the right. You can reach that right hand back, bend your left knee to catch your left foot with your right hand. You can find some movement here in your shape before you find stillness. Really getting curious about the tight spaces in your body, places that feel open. You may keep the sole of your right foot flat or start to peel open, moving to the outer edge of your right foot, letting your knee come out to the side. And if you are still moving and wiggling around, start to find some stillness. Whatever shape feels best. Wherever you feel like you can hold and breathe. And again, notice the stability here of the sole of your right foot. Maybe it's the outer edge of your right foot. Maybe your hands are planted down, your elbows. Feel your left knee heavy on the mat, maybe the top of your left foot. All that connection keeping you steady and grounded. And start to deepen your breath. Notice in the pose, where do you feel comfortable? Where do you feel energetic and soft? And as we stretch our hips, notice any tension you're holding in your jaw, in your face. Let your shoulders drop down from your ears. And if you have lowered to your elbows or come to the outer edge of your right foot, come back to the sole of your right foot, lift up back to your hands and start to straighten your right leg, drawing your hips back over your left knee, coming into your half split. You can windshield wipe your foot from left to right, point and flex your toes, point and flex your ankle. You can send your pinky straight out front, and then send your big toe straight out front. Getting a little swivel action with your foot. You can stay here in this half split with your hips over your knee, or you can continue to walk your hips back, sitting in a half Virasana, half hero pose. You may find it a little easier here to sit your hips down. You may want a blanket underneath your hips. Or underneath your right hip. And then here, you can extend your arms up and lean forward over your right leg. And get a stretch in the top of your left thigh. Stretch deep into your hips and the back of your right leg. And if you have come back to your half hero pose, come up to your half split. And slowly bend back into your right knee. Start to heel toe walk your right foot over to your left wrist and drop your right knee down to your right wrist. Coming into pigeon pose. You can tuck your back left toes, start to walk your leg back long behind your body. Untuck your toes, rest your left foot. So this is a traditional pigeon pose. You can stay lifted, you can come down. You can also take this shape on your back. You can lie down flat and bend both knees. Cross your right ankle over your left knee. You can stay here, you can push your right thigh away from your body using your right hand. You can draw your left knee into your chest, wrap your fingers around the back of your leg or around your knee. And here you'll use your right elbow to press your right thigh away from your body. And either shape is good. Wherever you are, take a deep inhale, Create space in your body, create space in your hips, your spine, your chest, space in your mind. Then exhale, release tension from your hips, soften your spine, let your shoulders relax away from your ears. You could stay lifted with your hands, palms flat. You can come down to your elbows. Maybe you have a blanket or pillow underneath your elbows. You can come down all the way to your forehead, rest your head on your hands. Draw your right hip back slightly and feel your left hip draw forward just a bit. Square your two hips to the front of the mat. Notice how that changes the stretch in your right hip. And if you are lying on your back, you can do that same action. Feel your right hip draw down, away from your body. You can even take your right hand on top of, just below your hip, right on top of your right thigh. And push down, create some space. Literally create space. And if you're here in your traditional upright pigeon, you can do that same action by taking your right hand to your right thigh and peeling your thigh, moving your thigh down towards your mat. Notice any contact you have with the mat. Notice your shin, your legs, your back leg, maybe your elbows, maybe hands. Notice the stability and the grounding that you feel from this connection. Notice how it's easy to relax and release when you feel supported. If you have lowered down to your forehead, come up to your elbows. If you're on elbows, lift up to your hands, maybe fingertips to lift your chest up towards the ceiling. Take your gaze up. Exhale, press into your hands, draw your right knee back to meet your left. Take a few rounds of cat-cow. You can press back to a child's pose, up into downward facing dog. Shake your hips from left to right. Maybe you want to just stir your right knee around in a circle. And come back to your neutral tabletop, hands underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. Notice the difference in the two sides of your body. Notice how your left leg feels right now versus your right leg. Your two hips. Your two shoulders. Feel your two hands flat on the mat. And extend your left leg long behind you. You can keep your toes down. Press out through your heel or lift your heel up in line with your left hip. Find length from the heel of your left foot to the crown of your head. And press evenly into both hands. Exhale, step your left foot up to the outside of your left pinky. You might stay here with your hands down. You might lift hands up to your left knee. You can really lean forward here, hips low. Feeling that stretch on the front of your right thigh, front of your right hip. And lower your hands down to the mat. Lower your elbows down. Find some movement, bending and straightening your left leg. You might twist here, right hand down, left hand up. Finding any kind of movement here that feels good. Noticing how this side feels different from your other side. Maybe the side's a little more tense, a little bit tighter. Maybe it's a little more open, a little stronger. And then eventually find some stillness. You can keep the sole of your left foot grounded down. Or you can start to open up, lifting the inner arch of your left foot, coming to the outer edge of your left foot. Knee coming out to the left. And as you inhale, create space and open up. As you exhale, release tension, soften into the shape. Notice in this pose where you feel steady and grounded. Notice where you feel comfortable and easy. Notice maybe if you don't feel any of those things, and see what you can change in the shape or with your breath or with your thoughts to feel more stable and comfortable, to feel a little more ease in the pose. Slowly start to lift up to your hands and straighten your left leg. Coming into your half split, you can windshield wipe your foot from left to right, toes to the left, toes to the right. You can point and flex your ankle, point and flex your toes. You can stretch the ball of your foot and your big toe to the front and stretch your pinky toe to the front. Get a little swivel in and out. And again, you can stay here in your half split or walk all the way back, lowering your heels to the inside of your right foot, your right shin. Your right shin is close in to your right thigh. Your right heel is touching your right hip, the outside of your right hip. You can also sit your left hip up on a prop. And inhale, hands lift, chest lifts. Exhale, forward fold. Feel the stretch in your hips, your thighs, back of your left leg, your spine. Notice comfort and ease here. See if you can rest in this pose, taking a full, deep body breath. Inhale, belly expands, and exhale, belly falls. The ability to take a full breath in a pose, a full, deep inhale and a full, deep exhale can show you how comfortable you are in the pose. If your breath is short and shallow, fast and kind of strained, see if moving a bit out of the pose, softening a little bit, can bring your breath to a more even pace. And slowly start to come back to your lunge. And heel toe your left foot to your right wrist. Drop your left knee to your left wrist. Come into your traditional pigeon here, or come onto your back. From your back, bend both knees, cross left ankle over right knee. And as you get set up here, notice again the difference in the two sides of your body. Notice this hip. Notice this right leg behind. Draw your left hip back, right hip forward. Maybe take your left hand onto your left thigh and press your thigh down, open, away from your hip, down towards the mat. Literally create some space, and then maybe you can fold forward, come down to your elbows, come all the way down to your forehead, rest your forehead on a block or your hands. You could stay lifted the whole time. You could be on your back. And notice your jaw. See if you can find space between your top and bottom teeth. Soften your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Maybe close your eyes here. Let your shoulders relax away from your ears. And as you hold this shape, notice where in your body you're really holding tension, and see if you can relax. See if you can soften where you feel tense. Maybe it's your breath. See if you can breathe a little deeper. Maybe your thoughts need to soften. Maybe you're totally hating this pose right now. Maybe try a different variation and see if that helps you to enjoy the pose and be a little bit more comfortable. But if not, if you're not in any extreme pain, if there's discomfort, if it's intense, maybe try to just breathe through it, creating that space. And over time, as you breathe, and as you hold the shape, and as you commit to your practice, you'll start to feel more comfortable. You'll start to feel more ease in your body. You'll start to feel a little more steady in these shapes. If you've come down to your forehead, come up to elbows. And from your elbows, lift up to your hands, your fingertips, lift your chest. And if you are on your back, you can release your legs, lower your feet down onto the mat. Stay on your back. If you're up in traditional pigeon pose, lean into your left hip and swing your right leg around and roll down onto your spine. And draw your knees in towards your chest. Rock a little side to side. You might rock forward and back, up and down your spine a few times. And then find stillness, draw your knees in towards your chest. You might hold one knee with one hand. You might grab your wrists over your knees or your opposite elbows. And draw your knees in tight towards your chest. Draw your knees in close towards one another. And release your knees. One hand on each knee. Inhale, straighten your arms, knees away from your chest. Exhale, bend your arms, draw your knees in towards your chest. Inhale, arms straight. Exhale, arms bend, knees come in. Inhale, expand. Exhale, contract. Use your whole inhale to open up, arms extend. Use your whole exhale to draw in. And you can keep moving like this. You can draw your knees in tight towards your chest. You might want to take a happy baby, reaching for the outside edges of your feet and drawing the soles of your feet straight up towards the ceiling. You can straighten one leg and then the other here. And rock side to side. And slowly come to stillness. Here in the middle, draw your knees in towards your chest. Stretch your arms out to a T, and on an exhale, lower your knees over to the right. Take your gaze out over to the left. You can keep both knees bent, or it might feel good to straighten your left leg. You can either just straighten it straight out from where it is, leave it flat on the ground, or you can reach your right hand for the outside of your left foot, stretching your arms out to a T. Gaze up at the ceiling or gaze out over your left shoulder. As you inhale, belly expands, create space from your left hip to your left shoulder. As you exhale, soften, relax, release tension from your face, from your chest, from your belly, from your hips. And slowly bend your left knee if it's not already and start to untwist. Come back onto your back. Draw your knees in towards your chest. And extend your arms out to a T. Lower your knees over to the left. Gaze out over your right shoulder. Notice how these shapes feel different now from the start of class. You can keep both knees bent or straighten your top right leg. You can just straighten it and keep it resting wherever it happens to land on the ground. You can reach your left hand, grab the outside of your right foot, and keep your right leg straight. Your arms are wide, gaze at the ceiling, or gaze out over your right shoulder. Inhale, belly rises. Exhale, belly falls. Inhale, create space and open up. Exhale, relax and release. And slowly bend your top knee. Roll back onto your back. And draw your knees in towards your chest. Lower your feet flat onto the mat. Go ahead and grab your blanket or your pillow. Have it close by. And press into your feet to lift your hips. Slide your prop underneath your hips, underneath your sacrum, right at the lowest part of your spine. And we'll come to a supported bridge pose. You can rest your arms alongside your body. And if this feels good, you can stay here, letting your belly rise and fall as you inhale and exhale. Close your eyes, shoulders down away from your ears. And let your body feel really heavy. So the soles of your feet connect with the ground, with your mat. Feel your hips heavy on the support of your bolster, your blanket, your pillow. Feel your upper back heavy, and the back of your head heavy on your mat. You could start to straighten your legs, maybe just one at a time. Maybe both straighten. You might keep your knees bent and lift one foot straight up towards the ceiling. You could lift both feet straight up towards the ceiling. Maybe you have a wall somewhere around you and you want to take your legs up the wall. And you can hold the backs of your legs here. If you have a chair or a tall stack of books or a box, you could sit that just behind your thighs, behind your hips, and bend your knees. Rest your calves on that stack of books or blocks or chair. Maybe your legs are still bent and your feet are still flat. Whatever shape you're in, notice your connection with the ground. Notice your connection with the mat. And notice and really focus in on one particular part of your body that feels comfortable. It feels easy and relaxed and soft. You might want to stay here for a few more breaths. Maybe with your legs up. Your legs could be straight still. You could be flat on your feet. If there are any final poses that you want to take before your final resting pose, you can come off of your support. Come down flat onto your spine. You can take a happy baby, a twist, maybe a gentle back bend or an inversion. Whatever feels good right now. And when you're ready, come back flat onto your back. You can take your blanket and either place it on top of your body. You can roll it up into a tube, place it underneath your knees. And you can separate your feet and your arms as wide as feels comfortable, shoulders away from your ears. Really let your entire body soften and relax here. Let all of your muscles be heavy. Feel your breath flowing in and out of your nose. Feel your hips heavy. Feel your spine long and spacious. Let your eyelids be heavy. The skin of your forehead soft. So there's this book called The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Nobody get up. Everybody stay in Shavasana. You can rewatch this video and see the book that I just showed. So it's Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and it's translated by Sri Swami Sachidananda. Probably said it wrong, sorry. But on page 25, there's a little section where it says, someone is asking, like, why do people continue to come to your place when you just say the same thing over and over and over and over? And he says, I feel happy and they feel happy being there. So they make me happy and I make them happy. We just spend a little happy time together. That's all. We just talk about something or do something in the name of yoga. Yes, that is the secret. There's a joy in being together. That's all. So I'm going to read it one more time. He says, I feel happy and they all feel happy being there. So they make me happy and I make them happy. We just spend a little happy time together, that's all. We just talk about something or do something in the name of yoga. Yes, that is the secret. There's a joy in being together, that's all. So I just want to thank you guys for spending some time with me. A little happy time. If you haven't come out of your Shavasana yet, you can start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Move your head around from side to side. Stretch your arms up overhead, full body stretch. Exhale, roll to your right side and slowly press up to a comfortable seat. You can close your eyes, bring your hands together at heart center. And thanks so much for being here with me. Hope you all have a good day. Namaste. Stopping the recording.